Happy Monday for those that are joining us now live. And whatever day you're joining in, happy day to you. New week starting, new opportunity to really grow and to ask ourselves, to push ourselves. We've been talking a lot of this idea of significance. Why this is so critical is because if we're not fully aware of what we're striving for, we run the risk of accomplishing the goals, but it being the wrong goals, right? That's really one of our great risks in life. We run the risk of hitting our setting goals in the wrong direction or too low and then hitting them, thinking that there's something wrong with me or that this is as good as life gets, not fully appreciative that maybe I didn't spend enough time setting the right goals. Just get my chat box open for those that are with me live. So yesterday we spoke about this idea. Significance is a spiritual need. It comes from this concept that each and every one of us has within ourselves two forces that fight against ourselves. There's the more animal side of us, the lower side of us, the physical origins of who we are, which is from the ground. And so there's a part of us that likes things that are very lowly. I don't mean that to be in a negative way. It's life. Eating certain foods and sleeping and doing things that are much more connected to the material world. And there's a part of us that strives for something deeper, something greater, for having a life that has a much bigger impact than whether or not I'm surviving, whether or not I can pay my bills, whether or not I am making money to spend money, making money to spend money. At the end of the day, when a person spends most of their lives in the accumulation and the spending of the material, they feel it. If you've ever gone through the lives and the histories of some of the greatest business leaders in the turn of the century, 19th century, Rockefeller and Carnegie, you see that these guys spent most of their young lives building businesses, beating out competition, in a way, what would be considered today totally ruthless. And as they got to the end of their lives and their net worths soared, they then turned their around almost completely and spent their whole time giving it away. Why? Why not give it to your children? Why not buy more stuff? Why not buy bigger homes? Why not buy nicer, whatever they called the cars back then? The answer is because they sense that there's something more in life. And after they accomplish so much materially, they realize that there's more spiritually. But why do we have to wait to the end of our lives to get there? So we look around to society, and society says to us, here, we'll show you. It's called symbols. And these are the symbols that you have to accomplish. And the more symbols you get, forget the dollars, in some cases maybe it is, but it's symbols. So in some places it could be degrees that you're collecting. In some places it can be, MVP awards you're collecting. And it could change. When you're 11th grade, it could be MVP awards. When you're, in college, it can be, letters after your name. When you get older, it can be, the title, right? When you're younger, you get A's and B's, and you get older, they give you new letters. Now it's like VP and CEO. Like, we just could be trading up. But at the end of the day, all those are they're synthetics. They can't get to the core. And the reason is because at their core, what symbols are really is that they're things that we get, that we take. The arrow points towards us. There's a trophy out there. There's a symbol out there. There's a home out there. There's some honor out there. And what we're trying to do is bring it closer to us. The arrow is pointing inward. And whenever the arrow points inward, by the core of how a soul is created, it won't work. Because a soul comes from a piece of the divine. By its nature, it is just a piece of something larger. And so what gives the soul the greatest pleasure, what makes a soul feel truly significant, is enabling itself to be part of something greater. And we feel that even at the lowest level. Sporting games, on teams, fighting for a mission. That's why you have even a thing called nationalism. Nationalism makes you feel like you're part of something bigger. That's why people like to be part of things. They like to be part of communities and teams, even if they're not playing. They have pride in their state or their country. It's all because what they're trying to do is find things that they can be they can be a part of. Because being part of something makes you feel that much more significant. Because the essence of significance is not taking, it's giving. It's finding the thing in which I should be willing to sacrifice for. There are few things that feel more significant than the ability to sacrifice for a just cause. And when you have that, and when you act that way, it's a totally different game. And so in searching for significance, the question we're asking ourselves is not what I can get, how I can compete. Now, competition is good if it brings out the best in you, but it's not if we define success as somebody else losing. So where do you find significance? So yeah, I mean, if you're part of a team, that'd be great. What if you're just a regular person? Where do you find significance? So the answer is everywhere. Because the way God created the world is that the more you recognize that you're a piece of Him and of it, the more every second of your day you are gearing yourselves towards being part of something more. Being able to sacrifice a little bit for somebody or something else. The giving is what feels good. The taking is what feels sensory good. And when I mean giving, I don't mean indiscriminately giving. I mean giving with wisdom. That's why we have something called the Torah, which tells us what to do and how. But the idea of giving with wisdom means putting yourself in a position where you can be able to give and give and give again. And by the way, it even extends to yourself. There's giving to yourself and there's taking from yourself. The full bag of potato chips is taking from yourself. Sleeping enough hours where you can function properly is giving to yourself. There's a distinction there. There's a great rabbi named Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. He had a line that seems so simple, but it's so deep in this concept. He said, when I was young, I wanted to change the world. As I got older, I wanted to change my community. And then I got older and I wanted to change my family. And then I got even older and I figured, you know what? I should really just change myself. When you hear that for the first time, you think, oh, wow, he's really given up on his dreams. But if you really think about that, he has given us really the secret to how this works, because at the end of the day, where we find true significance is in whoever is right in front of us. If a person is the greatest guy in the world on stage and really, really bad to his family when he gets home, he's not a great guy. He's not truly significant. He's not tapping into the right thing. If a woman picks up the phone and is like, hello, hangs up the phone and screams at everyone in the house, she's not really kind. Maybe, listen, she's human, but like, if someone goes, oh my God, every time I speak to her, she's amazing, she's so nice, and it's only when she's on the phone or when she's in public, that's not truly significant. True significance comes when it's who you are. And if it's who you are, it applies equally to the person behind the counter that you are giving your order to, or whether or not you're standing and the spotlight is on. So how do you do it? The rabbi says something amazing. He says every time, the idea that the rabbi was saying is changing yourself means I have to become who I am no matter who's around me. I have to change me in every scenario. Because every moment of my day, I am either growing my significance in the right way or the wrong way. Whatever I'm doing is an opportunity to grow my significance. Whatever I do every single day, my whole entire life, is a chance to tap into that piece of me that says, strive to be truly significant. Try to achieve mastery of your life. You don't need 1,000 people watching you. You don't need a letter after your name on a report card. You don't need someone to hand you an award. You don't need anyone even to pat you on the back. At the truth of who you are who you are based on how you act the thousands of times that you acted during every day. Every time you reach your hand into a cabinet to eat the right or the wrong food, you're taking or you're giving. Every time you see anyone in your family or anyone on the phone or anyone that you work with, you're tapping into whether you're being truly significant or not. When you're doing work and is your intention, how do I take more money out of this person's pocket, or how do I give more value, you're jostling between being truly or not truly significant. The battle of significance doesn't take place when the spotlight is on. The battle of significance takes place 20, 1,000, 5,000 times a day. What the rabbi was teaching us is, if you really want to change the world, you change the world by changing who you are. And then maybe, just maybe, you'll have the opportunity. God will give you a chance for who you are to just be exposed to more people. That's how true greatness works. You know, they had this whole thing. I was watching this interview about the Super Bowl. I think it was Tom Brady. And they were asking him, like, do you get nervous? Like, the game's on the line. There's 80,000 people watching you live. There's 80 million people watching you on TV. The ball's in your hands, and you've got to make, like, every pass with, you know, 1:30 left in the fourth quarter, or else you lose. I think I remember reading once years ago him saying, if you break it down, I'm just throwing the ball. And I've been throwing a ball every single day my entire life. And I remember reading that and thinking to myself, that is so simplistically brilliant. He's trying to be great in practice 5 months before the Super Bowl comes. He's trying to throw the ball right on a random Tuesday when he's playing around with his wide receivers after practice is over. He's trying to throw a ball right when he's in the preseason and the games don't mean anything. And if you try to throw the ball the right way when nobody's watching, then when the lights come on, you're just doing what you've always been doing. Just more people are watching. That idea is at the core of true significance. We recognize that what we're really doing every day is not trying to be significant in the eyes of other people. We're trying to be significant in our own souls and our own selves. And all of the interactions that come out us every single day are just practice for us. Waiting online and having that person on the counter think that they are the only person in the world, so they spend an extra half an hour not caring about anyone behind us, is our ability to either lose it or practice patience. Raising children is this massive boot camp of patience, especially the ones that don't listen to you. But when we see it that way, and by the way, I'm not there, I'm just telling you what I've learned. I don't want anyone to think that, like, I nailed this. This is life. When we practice it, every day with the intention that I want to be a better person myself, regardless of who sees me, what's happening is we're growing the truest level of significance. And when you grow true significance, it doesn't matter who sees you. It doesn't matter whether they know. What matters is that you know. And when you know that you're growing, when you know that you're building momentum, when you know in your core that you're tapping into your soul over your body, that feeling alone can be so motivating because you're sharing it with yourself and with God. Because you're really moving in the right direction. And many times when you do that, you don't realize that someone's paying attention to you. Some of the greatest things we've ever learned from people really were from times where they didn't think anybody was watching them. Some of the greatest things that we'll do in our life will really come in our instant response to things that we couldn't practice. Or we can practice, we couldn't force in the moment. That's true significance. And if you look at the people in life that you think are the most significant, that's what they have. They are just naturally, so to speak, but now we know because of neuroplasticity, you can change your nature. They are just instinctively able to do the right thing. I remember one time I was watching my rabbi back in the old days, February. I used to go to shul all the time, and I would sit 3 feet from my rabbi. And I'll never forget, like, he gave this incredible speech, and some guy just like came by, this guest, and like started giving him a hard time about it, like for no reason. And it was so inappropriate. It's his shul. He's the rabbi. And some like guest like didn't like he was just too positive or something. I don't know. And I was just and I sit a row from him. And it was just the two of them. Like nobody saw this. He just like came over and whispered. If I wasn't this close, I wouldn't have seen it. And I watched the way he dealt with him, and I'm thinking, like, could he be any more gracious? Like I would have socked this guy. Not really, but I would have wanted to. And I learned about patience more in the interaction between my rabbi and this guy without him noticing it than I could have in any speech, because he worked on it. I want to give you one more principle before we go. And it's a principle that I learned it'll blow you away, but it can be really bastardized. So when you hear this, digest it for a few minutes, and then we'll talk about it tomorrow. There's a famous rabbi named the Baal Shem Tov. He says that just the way a face reflects back in water, this is in Proverbs, I believe, just the way a face reflects in water, so too does a heart of man or woman reflect each other. And there's two ways of seeing this. One is when you walk around and you believe in people, they start believing in you, or believing in themselves at least. There's a lot of science behind this. I want to throw a little bit of a mini bomb out there before we end today. In many ways, what Baal Shem Tov was saying at a deeper level, when we see problems in this world, the problems that we see that bother us the most are the things that are inside us that we have to fix. I think the line was, you hate what you are. Think about that. When we're really mad at somebody, when we're really upset at something, many times at a very deeper level, this isn't surface, very deeper level, what it's doing is, the reason why we're so upset, because it is bringing up something inside us that we have to either fix or work through. And so when we see it in somebody else, it makes us crazy. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to take responsibility for someone else's problems. But what it does mean is that when we look at the world as one huge practice field for us to be truly significant, the world becomes a challenging but exciting place for us to grow in the right way. And once we start down that road, we're free from what everyone else says of us. And we start to build true significance, the significance that feels that way. All right, we'll continue this. Have an awesome, awesome day. We'll delve into more about this tomorrow with God's help. Think about it today a little bit. Think about it today. Try today to, like, if you can, whatever we're going through, see it as just practice, as a way to sharpen my own knife of significance, and how I act to the things and to the people that I don't necessarily need, so to speak, or I need them, but it's not an overexposure, if you will. How I act in the little things. Try to take note of them, because that'll really mean a lot to who we are. Okay, awesome. Have a great day, and with God's help, I cannot wait to see you again tomorrow.